A good moyet to everyone. Nice to have everyone together today. Today is the festival of Pesach, and we're now in the intermediate days, the first day of Chol HaMoed. So we're going to continue our shiur that we always learn, our beautiful shiur. Just letting a few more people in to our class. Yeah. And I'm going to start in our Siddur. We're learning now the blessings on the Torah on page 9. And we're studying a Mishnah which speaks about long life, longevity, beautiful blessing of longevity, but tells us that many mitzvot we do, the main longevity is in the world to come. So we have a little bit benefits in this world, but mostly the blessing of longevity, as we spoke last week about honoring your parents, is going to be in the world to come. Eddie's asking about tefillin. Our custom is not to put on tefillin on the Chol HaMoed. Okay, we don't put on tefillin. I mean, there are many good Jews that do put on tefillin, but the Chabad custom and our shul's custom is not to wear tefillin during the Chol HaMoed. So we're going to study today about one of the important mitzvahs that's brought over here, and that is the mitzvah. It says V'hashkamas beis hamed shachris v'arvis. This is in the page number 9. In the Mishnah, middle of the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth line. It speaks about early attendance at the house of study, and which includes also the house of prayer, morning and evening. So this is big mitzvah to come early to shul. I don't know if anybody really pays careful attention to that, because usually when it comes to shul, whenever it is, everybody always shows up like an hour or two late. When I see people coming to shul on time, usually it's non-Jews that are coming to visit the shul for a bar mitzvah, so they come on time. But the Jewish people, unfortunately, we don't come on time. When I see somebody showing up at the beginning, early at the service with a kippah perched on the head, I know they're not Jewish, coming to visit for a simcha or something. Because by them, they know you come on time. What do you mean you come late? Jews, when they hear what time it is, they already will know they're going to come an hour late, whatever the time is. They calculate it. It's 9 o'clock, they're there at 10. But here we see the importance, it says, of coming on time, of being from the first people. The Talmud speaks a lot about the importance of coming early to the synagogue. First, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about synagogue in general, shul. You all know the shul is a very important, central part of Jewish life. In fact, over the last couple of thousand years, the shul was the community center. It was the hub of Jewish life. Wherever Jews were, in the shtetl, anywhere, the shul was more than just a house of prayer. It was more than just a place where people come to pray. Shul was it was the pulse of the community. When you wanted anything, you'd go to the shul. That was it. Every part of life was there. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little later, but first just talk a little bit about the history of synagogues. Many years ago, when we had our holy temple in Jerusalem, that was the main shul. The big shul in Jerusalem, which was the holy temple. It was there for 800 years, 830 years precisely, with a 70-year break in between, 900 years. The 2 Jewish commonwealths in Israel. First temple was built, King Solomon, and then it was destroyed by the Babylonians 400 years later. And then it was rebuilt 70 years later, which was rebuilt again, Ezra and Nehemiah, The second wave of Jews that came back from Babylon to Israel, until it stood for 400 years, until it finally was destroyed another 400 years later by the Romans. The Romans destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, and they flattened the roads and everything. They flattened all of everything. They destroyed. The only thing they left was the western wall for some reason. That's today the Kotel HaMaravi, the last remnant of the temple, early temple of the first shul of the Jewish people. So we're talking now about the history of synagogues, of shuls. So the first shul we had was a glorious shul that stood for 800 years in Jerusalem. But then when the Romans destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, just before that actually, there was a very famous rabbi, his name was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was against the rebellion against the Romans at the time. The Jews were trying to fight the Romans. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai felt that it was a useless battle, which it truly was. They couldn't win the battle, even though they were very brave. And eventually they had even a rebellion later on with Bar Kokhba, 100 years after the destruction of the temple. 100 years, like 60, 70 years after the destruction of the temple. But it was a terrible time, a bloody time. There were hundreds of thousands of Jews that were killed. That was the price we paid then. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was more of the opinion to work out something with the Roman Empire at the time, and not to try to poke them in the eyes. Something similar in a way what's going on now. And he felt, so he wanted to negotiate a peace agreement with the Romans. But there were many Jews who were radicals at the time, and they wouldn't allow that to happen. They wanted to fuel the rebellion. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai feigned his death, and he had his students take him through the walls of Jerusalem and take them out, because those days they didn't bury anyone in Jerusalem, they buried outside of Jerusalem. So they brought him through, and they let him go out with the students. And the story goes that he met up with the Roman emperor. And the Roman emperor met with him. He was the general who then became the emperor. His name was Vespasian. Famous. You may know of Titus and Vespasian. Vespasian was taken over by Titus afterwards. But he was at the time the general. And when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai came to meet him, that was just when he was informed that he became the new emperor, that the emperor in Rome, Nero, had died, and he was going to become the next emperor. So the rabbi was meeting him at a very auspicious time, and he had lots of power then because he was the emperor. So he bowed down to him. Actually, even before the news came, he bowed down to him, as he says, "Dear emperor." He says, "Well, you're not allowed to say that." And moments later, they came in with the news, and he was just appointed the emperor. So anyways, so he found favor with Vespasian, and he spoke to him. And he asked Vespasian, Vespasian said, he's doing what he's doing, we have to do it. But Yochanan ben Zakkai tried to negotiate with him and said, at least don't destroy all the other synagogues. Even if you're going to destroy the temple, he knew they were dead set on destroying the temple. He said, please save us the city of Yavne, b'chachomeho. That was this great house of Torah study. Those days, Torah study and synagogue were one thing. It was a great academy of learning in the city of Yavne. And it was like the Jewish center outside of Jerusalem of learning and studying and davening. That was the city of Yavne. Today, there's a place called Yavne in Israel also. So he said to Vespasian, Tein li Yavne v'chachameho. Spare me Yavne and their scholars. In other words, allow the Torah study and the Yiddishkeit to continue to flourish, even though you're dead set on taking over Israel. And Vespasian agreed to that. He agreed to that condition. Many rabbis in the Talmud said that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai should have asked to spare the temple or spare all of Israel. And then the answer, he said, he was a wise Gosha. He knew that wasn't going to happen. He said, at least spare the synagogues for us, kind of, right? And he agreed to that, and they terribly, tragically destroyed the temple and everything. But they left a bastion of Jewish learning, of prayer in the city of Yavne. And that was sort of like that was the precursor of all the synagogues and yeshivot, which was going to take over the place of the one central temple, which was in Jerusalem. And the Jews then, from there on, moved into a phase of sort of decentralization, and it became Yavne, and then other places cropped up, and that was Rabbi Yochanan's vision, is that we should have little Torah centers in all the cities and all the little synagogues. And the Talmud speaks about it, that the synagogue is like the little Beit HaMikdash, Mikdash Ma'at, that's what it's called. There's the big Mikdash, the big temple, and then there's the small temples in every community of Jews around the world. And from there on, the synagogue replaced the temple. I mean, synagogue, obviously, a word that came much later, and shul also came much later. These are words that were used in different parts of the world where Jews lived. But in Hebrew, it was Beit HaKnesset, house of gathering, or Beit HaMedrash, house of study. And they have these Bate Knesset, the Bate Midrashes pop up all over the Jewish landscape of Israel and then the world. So the shuls took the place of the Beis HaMikdash. The big Beis HaMikdash, the big temple, was the one in Jerusalem. But when that was destroyed, there was a need now for smaller little temples, and we call it Migdash Ma'at, small Migdash. So every synagogue is a small Migdash. But because the Jews were now decentralized and they didn't have any more kingdom and anything like that, so this became the focal point, the center of Jewish life thereafter. Wherever Jews went, they always had the shuls and the synagogues. Rabbi Yochanan, not Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, another Rabbi Yochanan said that how is it that the Jews in Babylon, that's where the primary exile was to the land of Babylon. How is it that the Jews of Babylon are living long? If the Torah says that your long life is a blessing, long life is a particular blessing specifically for Israel. It says in the Shema, we say every day, L'man yirbu yemechem evenechem, so that you shall live long, al ha'adama, on the land of Israel. So Rabbi Yochanan says, how is it that many of the Jews are living long in the land of Babylon? So Rabbi Yochanan answered, because they have the synagogues there. And because the Jews come early, every day they come and they pray in the synagogues, early to the synagogue, the blessing of long life comes from embracing their synagogues in Babylon. And the Masha and other commentaries, they speak about this, and they say that many of the synagogues in Babylon, interesting, were built, and first of all, that they brought the heir of Israel to Babylon. So when they started building the synagogues in Babylon, it had sort of the holiness of Israel, which transported in the synagogues in the diaspora. That's what Mashar writes. And Rashi says somewhere that, in fact, the synagogues in Babylon, they took from the stones of the temple in Jerusalem, and they used some of the stones, of the outer stones, they used it as cornerstones for the synagogues in Babylon. So they sort of, in a small way, they transported the holiness of Israel from the temple to the little shuls. And not only that, but the shuls now became a conduit for the blessing of long life. That long life came along with the blessing of long life. That's specifically a blessing for Israel, for the Jewish people living in Israel to live long life, were taken by the shuls to the diaspora, to the Babylon, Other places. But as I said before, a shul is more than just a place of prayer or a place of learning. It's way more than that. In most communities, you have a community center, you have a library, you have a reading room, you have a place for prayer, a place for study, a library, an archive, a museum, all different things. And the shul was, by the Jewish community, it's all wrapped in one. Everything wasn't in the shul. A child had a bris in the shul. There was a baby name in the shul. There was a bar mitzvah in the shul. They learned the cheder. It was in the shul. They had they learned to the kids. The school, the day school was in the shul. Everything was in the shul. And afterwards, you had to go for a marriage. It was in the shul. The chuppah was in the shul. The rabbi was there for a divorce, God forbid, in the shul. Everything, every part of life took place through the synagogue. That was it. And all the chesed that was done in the community, the Chevra Kadisha that took care of visiting the dead and visiting the helping bury the dead, and all the mitzvahs of Gemilat Chasadim and doing kindness and charitable work and all the societies that we know, everything was done. There was no separate building for a UJA or for a library, for a day school. All was in one building. The shul was like it was packed. It was the core of Jewish life. The person needed something, they were in trouble, they needed help financially, they came to the shul, they came to the rabbi. Synagogue became the focal point of the Jewish community wherever they were. And our enemies knew that. The enemies of the Jewish people knew that if they wanted to destroy the Jews, where would they go first? They would go to the shul. They would burn down the shul. They would burn the Titus. They'd burn our books. That was the focal, because they knew that was the Jewish people is a synagogue, is a shul. You want to get them? Get rid of their shul. The Nazis knew that. They burnt the Jews in their own synagogue. That was like the biggest, Little did they know that what they were doing was they were showing the unbreakable bond between the Jews and their synagogue. All of them, the Crusades, the pogroms, everybody, they all knew the shul was the place that if you want to get the good Jews, go to the shul. Even in recent times. In recent times, the anti-Semites, when they were in Pittsburgh, they went to a synagogue. They went to in San Diego, they went to a synagogue. Everywhere in Germany, they all know that the anti-Semites know they want to start up with the Jews. They go to synagogue. Last week, there was a desecration of a synagogue on Bayview Avenue. They broke the windows. This is a anti-Semite knows. Where do you go? You want to make trouble for you go to their place, the place of the Jews. What they don't know is the anti-Semites is the Jews don't go anymore to the shul. It's just the anti-Semites go to the. That's just a joke, but unfortunately, but Baruch Hashem, we had Pesach. We had a lot of people in shul. We had 400 or 500 people on one day at Pesach. They came to shul. Beautiful. We're very, very proud of our community, and it was very, very nice because people know. It comes a yontif, you go to shul. It's not even a question. But so anti-Semites know that that's the place to go to. When our enemies know they know that that's the place to get the Jews. But the Jews also, we know that, and it always was a thing to come to the synagogue. In the olden days, if a stranger comes to town, where would they go? They go to the synagogue. That's where they came. They were lost. They wanted to go to the synagogue, right? That's where you went to when you came to the city. And you came into the shul. Maybe it was mincha, ma'ariv, shachris, people davening. Might have been, There was always hot coffee there, tea. Anybody wants to walk in, there's always take a hot drink. That was in the old shtetl. That always was. There was a table there with a lot of books, old books, table full of books. And everybody was welcome to take a book. You take a book down, and you open it up, and you sit down. And on this, in the shul itself, there was a table on the side there for people to come. When they come in, they could sit down, drink their coffee, and read a book, study a little bit, study a little tighter. And anyone who came there, sat down, took the book, they felt like this was their home. This was theirs. Their synagogue. They felt home. Especially during the years the Jews were being persecuted and beaten and who knows what on the outside world. Okay. They needed their comfort zone, right?
Come and talk
a place to go to where they could feel safe, a safe zone, as we call it, a safe zone. And that's what it was. A Jew in the old shtetl, after being persecuted and beaten the whole day in the world, and he would come in the evening and walk into the shul, and I'm with my people. I'm safe. Yeah, I'm just thinking about bringing them home. Yeah, it's so sad that they're playing games with us again, sending videos about the hostages. It's a young boy, Poland, showing a video of him playing games with us. Anti-Semites, Anyways, we're going to bring them all home. We're going to bring them all back to shul. All the hostages, and they come back to the synagogue. But this is Jewish life. Jewish life. So in this prayer, we say that long life is granted for coming to shul, and especially coming early and leaving late. In the Talmud, it says something special about being the first 10 people in the synagogue. To be from the first people that arrive in the synagogue, it's a special blessing. A special blessing to come early in the morning in the synagogue. And those have to be the one to lock up. So I think one day I'll get a big blessing for that, because I'm always the guy with the key opening up in the morning, early morning, with my eyes like that, opening up. And then late at night, I'm always like doing the lockup. So at least I get that mitzvah of being the first in the shul and the last in the shul. So this is what it said. So it said Ashkom is based on Shachs to wake up early to go to shul. This is a focal point of Jewish life. The Jews always, it was a big thing for us to go to shul. It was a big thing. They once found a Jew shipwrecked on an island, and the Jew was there all alone, and he was there shipwrecked for about a couple of years, barely surviving. Finally, they come, an expedition goes, and they find this Jew. They say, Baruch Hashem. He said, before you take me, he said, I want to show you the shul I built. He came, wow, what a beautiful shul with a big kodesh made out of marble and the beautiful pews and nice carpets and everything. A gorgeous synagogue. And so very nice. Synagogue, yeah. So this is about to take him. He says, one more thing I want to show you. It brings him to another shul. And he says, he shows them another shul, also beautiful, everything gold and silver, ornate, and one of the nicest shuls you'll ever see. They ask him, what's this shul? He says, this is the shul I don't go to. I never step foot into this shul. Because every Jew needs a shul you go to, and a shul you never step foot into. You never go. That's the shul I don't go to, right? So, Baruch Hashem, in every shtetl, and every the shuls that people go to, and the shuls they don't go to. Yeah, that's a picture of the Shmura Matzah. Very nice, Aline. Yeah, so you Shmura Matzah there. Very nice, good. Yeah, it's a picture from the shtetl also, I think, a picture, yeah, that's right. Yeah, in the olden days, it's a good hechsher. It's a good hechsher, yeah. So every Jew would have a shul he went to and a shul he never went to, never stepped foot into. It gets us, makes us excited. So some shuls. I don't know if that shows the greatness of the people, but That's a story. And like, oh, you go some places, like in Jerusalem, every block, every half block, there's another shtibel. It's not in the olden days, in like Europe, they had big, like cathedral style synagogues, you know, it was like big shul, and everybody went to the one shul. But another shtetl, sometimes they had like small shtibelach every couple of blocks. They had another shtibel, especially with the persecutions and everything. So they had little smaller shuls, mini shuls, right? You have mikdash ma'at, you have a small shul, this are mini. And you go to some places, it's like 2x2. You walk in Jerusalem, you walk an extra step and you miss the shul. Many places at the shuls were very, very ornate, beautiful. They built them wonderfully. And you have, okay, we're getting a little tour over here. And we have pictures of the shul, yeah. Maybe Sonia, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that shul. You know what shul it is? Is that from hey, we can't hear you. You have to tell us. Yeah, there are some pictures of shuls, yeah. Sonia, we can't hear you. She's talking, but I can't hear.
This was a shul in Bratislava, which is now a capital city of Slovakia. Oh. And you reminded me that the communists and the socialists, they took a clue. They from the Roman times, because the first thing they did in the 40s, they closed the synagogues. And afterwards, in 40s, 50s, and half of 60s, 1960s, they made warehouses out of these beautiful shuls. I remember the longing in my father's and mother's face and their friends. They used to tell me, this was such a special time when we sat there and we were able to be with our friends and contemplate about recipes, about everything in life. And the longing was in my parents' face. And then I'm happy to report to you that when a new government came in 1967, they opened one shul. And the youth of Bratislava, actually surrounding villages, we came for Rosh Hashanah to shul. And it was the first time I was there, and it was so special. And all young people, we were standing in the courtyard. And this is where I met Ivan.
Oh, wow. So
the first day in synagogue.
You're a product of the shul. You're a product of the reopening of a shul.
Yes.
Oh, that's mamash a miracle. That the first day the shul reopened, you guys met each other. That's incredible story.
Yeah, but there was still some worry for a number of months, because the police set up cameras, which we didn't know, on the street, and they're watching who is going there. And times
communists. There's still communists there.
Exactly. And they were inviting people. What did you do? What did you talk about?
Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
But later in the 90s, everything was opened up, and now you go there. I'm sure some of these synagogues have been restored, and they've been brought back to some of their former glory, not totally, but a little bit. So the Baruch Hashem, some of the synagogues have returned. But the point to make is,
what we did, we made out of the upper level a museum. And one of the examples there is a little sweater from now a very famous Jewish doctor in Bratislava, whose mother was trying to save his life, but a bullet went through his hand. And on the sweater, you see the bullet, and it's displayed there. She was trying to save his life. But if I may show you, this is a plate for Passover.
Matzah plate, yeah.
Matzah plate. It is about 150 years old.
Kaira, beautiful. That's gorgeous. Is that from
Yeah, and we managed to smuggle it my in-laws managed to smuggle it to Canada for us.
Beautiful Cairo. It's an unusual one with 3 tiers. And
Yes, I'm just missing the curtain. There was a curtain around the basa.
curtain, right.
Yeah.
Instead, right. It's supposed to be covered up, the matzah, right. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorgeous.
And here are the names. Everything is in Hebrew. My father-in-law and his brothers give this as a gift to their grandparents and parents for I don't know which wedding anniversary so it was handmade.
Thank you for the prop to support the class today. Wish everybody a Chag Sameach, a good Moed, everybody, and we wish everybody a good Yar, and please God, it should be truly a festival of freedom, and all those that need to be freed should be 100% freed before Pesach is over, before tonight even. We should hear the good news that everybody is freed in Israel and all the soldiers go home and end to the wars. And it'll be like the very first Pesach. We'll be able to continue to celebrate the freedom of from bondage to freedom. So, with Hashem, it's happening soon. Just keep on hoping and praying.
Praise God.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Chag Sameach to everyone.
Chag Sameach. Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
See you all.
Thank you.
See you next week, Rabbi.